Hi everybody and welcome to Des and Laura, and today I'm all by myself, and instead of covering a news article I want to speak a little bit about OHMEGA, which we've been discussing in our videos every once in a while, and specifically the mindset around OHMEGA, the mindset that got us where we are now in South Africa at this point in time and also globally, as well as the mindset that's going to get us out of the situation that we are currently in. OHMEGA is I suppose you could call a citizens empowerment program that is designed to empower people to preserve and protect humanity as well as individual liberty. Those two things are under threat right now by global governance systems, by governments worldwide as well. Policies being implemented in government worldwide is threatening the existence and progress of humanity and threatening individual freedom. Just the fact that individuals should be free to say what they want, believe what they want, and live how they want. And the problem is, for all this time, we have allowed the situation to get out of hand. We've allowed governments to get more and more powerful. And there's a quote that I quoted, I think it was last week at the end of our Thursday night live stream. Since I've heard it, it's been one of my favorite quotes. I think it's by George Bernard Shaw, and it goes like this: the reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable man adapts the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. So the problem with not just this country, but also the entire world, think of the problems that are at the forefront of your mind. I'm sure load shedding is up there. I'm sure the incompetent government is up there. I'm sure the failing school system is up there. We, as reasonable people, have allowed it to happen. We have been conditioned by society to be reasonable, when that has actually been the death of our progress as a nation. And you can apply that to countries around the globe. So unfortunately, instead of going with the flow, we actually have to stop and assess the situation. I think that from the conversations I've had from people, most people are just all too comfortable to go with the flow. And why? Why is that? That drives me crazy, but why is that? I think it's just the way people have been conditioned by their parents, by school, and many other institutions. And what happens is that who directs where society is going? Who directs the future? I would say it's on the surface level only, it's corporations and governments. Corporations will take data and statistics and create bar graphs and pie graphs and try to predict what's going to make them money in a few months from now, in a year from now, and so on. Governments likewise want to stay in power, and in this day and age, to stay in power, you need to have some kind of benefit to the people. So you try so hard as a government to end all human suffering, and I'm talking about global governments as well, institutions like the United Nations and the WEF. They want to end human suffering, not realizing that they're killing all forms and potential of joy at the same time. And so you have corporations and you have government literally directing what the future is going to look like, and the majority of the population just go along with it. They don't just go along with it. It gets worse. They prepare their children for the future. They prepare their children to be ready to adapt to the future that's been dictated to them by corporations and government. And this is why we find ourselves powerless and at the mercy of these tyrants, whether it's in corporates or whether it's in governments. And unfortunately, we as a people, we need more people to just stop in their tracks, stop going with the flow, and to stop in their tracks and to look at the situation, assess the situation, and then determine what kind of future they want, and then to work towards it. And that little process I've just described is literally what a resistance is. If you look at resistance from an electronic perspective, that is what a resistance is. It's stopping the flow of electricity in a certain direction to a degree. It's just stopping and just taking time to think. And this is the one problem that I find specifically with South Africans, is we are so good at complaining and then also making jokes about the stuff we're complaining about. But very few people have a vision for what kind of future they want. And this is the question I think I want to pose to you this morning, is what kind of future do you want? Please put it in the comments. I'll explain the kind of future I want, and hopefully it'll make sense why we are offering OHMEGA, why I'm doing what I'm doing, and why we need to disrupt things, disrupt the flow towards an accepted new normal, and change things up a bit. We have the power to do that if we choose to be unreasonable. So what kind of things do you want in your future? What kind of life do you want to live? Like, in the process of starting OHMEGA, and that started in 2017, in that process, I had desires as a mom and a citizen. I want to just live life in peace without government being felt in our home, without feeling infringed upon. We have surveillance cities popping up left, right, and center, and we don't want to be monitored, tracked, and traced. We don't want to worry about how that's going to look 10 or 20 years down the line for our future generation. But even on a more personal note, as a female, I want to explore nature, go on adventures on my own without worrying about my safety, for instance. I want my children to be able to go hike if they want to by themselves at appropriate ages without me worrying about them getting robbed or mugged or attacked in any way. There's so many issues out there: homelessness, street children, animal abuse, environmental degradation due to corporate unaccountability, the protection of our freshwater systems. There's so many issues that have to do with human beings and have to do with the environment and have to do with just life in South Africa that I'm sure is close to many people's hearts. I know the education system is close to a lot of moms' hearts. All the issues I've just mentioned and the ones that I'm sure you might mention in the comments can all be summarized by one simple problem. Well, not problem, one simple solution. We need the protection and preservation of humanity and individual liberty. And because part of humanity is caring for those in need, part of humanity is making sure that society advances, not goes backwards. Part of humanity is making sure everyone has running water in their home. Part of humanity is making sure that people do have home. And it doesn't have to be government or corporations that meet those needs. Communities can meet those needs. So the umbrella, the overarching solution to all the problems that we face as a society, the overarching thing that we need to focus our minds on, is creating a society, a group of citizens, a large group of citizens that are interested in the preservation and protection of humanity and interested in the preservation and protection of individual freedom. And that is what OHMEGA sets out to do with the training that we give to people, which will be starting very soon this year. We're opening applications in September. And I think the first step that you need in your mind before we even apply for OHMEGA, the first step that you need in your mind is having an understanding of what you want the future to look like. And when you have an idea of what you want the future to look like, then you can start working towards it. And OHMEGA will give you the tools to do just that.